Welcome to the Inside of Mind podcast. I appreciate anybody who's coming back to the podcast. If y'all have been loving the podcast, let me know down below in the comments. I love all the comments. I read all the comments and I get back to all the comments. So I would appreciate any thoughts that y'all may have. Please like the video. Go ahead and share the podcast with your friends if you think they might enjoy the content. You know what I'm saying? You can't be selfish. So look, today I want to talk about 3 books that changed my life, right? And when I say changed my life, I mean these books completely changed the way I view everyday life, the way I go through life on a daily basis. So I really want to share this with y'all and just see where y'all brain is at, and maybe give you a couple recommendations of some books you should read, based on the information I'm going to give you, whether or not you want to read the book or not. Now, it is scientifically proven that there's a difference in results when it comes to physically reading a book versus me just giving you the information audibly, right? So I don't even know if that's a word. So I do want y'all to invest in grabbing one of these books. You feel me? If y'all want me to do a giveaway on one of these books, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Get the likes up on this video, hit the subscribe button, and keep sharing and reposting. And I'll do a giveaway on what I think is the best book. So right here, I got a plan for some of the topics I want to touch on this video. So let's just get straight into it. We got book number 1. Book number 1 is going to be Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. See, I couldn't find my other 3. I know there's somewhere in here, or the other 2 on this list. But Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Mastering the Inner Game of Wealth, Think Rich to Get Rich. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today bestseller. So this book is not to be played with. I picked up this book because it was highly recommended. So let me just give y'all some reasons why this is top 3 books that changed my life. So the number 1 takeaway through this whole book is right here. The way you think about money is deeply rooted in your subconscious and affects your financial outcomes, right? That's very important. So in the entire book, he starts off by talking about this concept of a money blueprint, right? Money blueprint is basically the subconscious thoughts in the back of our mind made by money. He has a few good examples in this book that I should be able to go over here in a minute. But this book also introduced me kind of into the idea of limiting beliefs, right? Basically subconscious thoughts and experiences in our past that affect the way we think and maneuver now. And I didn't know how important that was, right? Because you're so focused on the real world, what's in front of you, that you don't even think about the past, how the past can affect you. So check this out right here. Your beliefs about money are formed in your childhood through verbal programming, modeling, and specific incidents. So look, let me see if I can give you an example of this, right? If you grew up in a household where your family would constantly say that money is evil, that the rich are selfish, that, just resenting the wealthy people, and anything like that, you kind of grow up with that same mindset. So think about it like this, right? If you grew up in a household that resented the rich people, then as you grow up, you're going to learn to resent rich people, right? But it states in the book that that poor people, right? And I'm not saying this to be rude or anything, right? I'm saying this just the way that it was said in the book. But I say a poor mindset resents the rich, right? While the rich mindset admires the rich. So the poor says, man, that guy's rich. I know he's a scumbag. I know he's a terrible person, whatever, resenting, saying that whatever he did to get what he has, he does not deserve to have it. He had to probably do some negative things, whatever. Just looking at it as from a bad perspective. Right? So if you resent something, why would you ever strive to reach that point, right? If I resent somebody who is a selfish person, I'm not going to strive to be selfish. If I resent someone who is in a great physical condition, I'm never going to reach great physical condition, because why would I want to chase something that I don't admire? If I think that is a disgusting way of living, why would I ever chase that, right? And that's a subconscious thing. If you subconsciously feel that the rich are bad people, no way is your mindset going to support you being rich. Because why would they want you to be a nasty person? It just doesn't make any sense. So that link should connect everything. So if you want to reach a certain level of wealth or just succeed in any lane, you cannot resent people that have those things. But so that's just one example of a way that growing up in a household can affect your subconscious mind. Another way, let's see, what would be another good example? Let's say you lived in a household of splurgers, right? Or in a household of addiction. So I'm gonna use women as an example. Women tend to cope with shopping sometimes, with spending money, spending a lot of money on shopping and going to the mall, whatever. That's kind of like everybody has their own way of coping with things. But when women want to feel good, want to be happy, they usually spend money, go shopping, whatever the case, right? So if you grew up in a household where that was a common thing, that money was spent by way of temporary happiness, then you were going to subconsciously grow up with that exact same kind of mind, I guess. Dang, I hope this thing is loud enough. Probably isn't. But yeah, if you grow up in a household where people spend money to get temporary happiness, chances are you're gonna grow up with that same mindset that money is meant to be spent by way of keeping you happy for a specific period of time, and that causes bad money management, bad financial decision making, which in turn leads to obviously other things, debt, whatever you want to call it. So yes, the past that you have, the past idea that you have of money, the past image you have on money can strongly affect your money blueprint, right? The kind of limits you put on yourself to be able to make a certain amount of money in this world. Here's the next one. If your blueprint is set for mediocrity or struggle, no amount of strategy will make you wealthy until it's changed, right? So your money blueprint. Let me go ahead and give y'all a actual definition of how he explains the money blueprint. Let's see. How does the author of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind describe the money blueprint? I want to make sure y'all are getting the right information because I didn't write the book, obviously. The money blueprint is described as your subconscious financial programming, the deeply ingrained beliefs, thoughts, and emotions you have about money, wealth, and success. The blueprint is formed primarily in childhood through verbal conditioning, modeling, and specific incidents, right? So, in simple terms, it is described as the subconscious financial programming. So, that just think of it as like that. That is your money blueprint. So, going back to this. If your blueprint is set for mediocrity or struggle, no amount of strategy will make you wealthy until it's changed. Yeah. So that's important because if your money blueprint is set for mediocrity or struggle, right? Meaning that based on all your past beliefs about money, it limits your mind to make a certain amount of dollar. The only way you can increase your dollar amount that you're making is by changing the blueprint, right? You physically can't really just do things different because you're going to end up in the same hole. So if you have a money blueprint that is set for blowing money unknowingly, right, without being smart about it, then chances are that even when you start making more money, it's not really going to serve you any good because you're going to be spending a lot of the money you make not without even realizing how much money you're spending. So you can make more money, but it's not going to feel like it because you're making such bad financial decisions that your life isn't changing. You're still in the same lane of struggle as when you were making the little dollar amount. So it's important that you attack the money blueprint. You always got to attack the mindset first, right? In the beginning of the book, he talks about a fruit tree. If you have a tree and you don't like the fruit that the tree produces, then you can't just change the fruit. You would have to go all the way down to the root and change the seed of the fruit, right? Change it from the root. You cannot just change the fruit on the tree. Rather, you have to change the root that caused the tree to grow, that then gives you a certain type of fruit. So you have to start from the bottom up. And a lot of people don't like to hear that because it seems like a lot of work. But I mean, what isn't a lot of work, right? Things take time, things take effort. So you might as well start now, right? The quicker you start, the quicker you can get there. But it's important that you go to the root of the problem to change the result. I forgot the way you put it. I know it's in here. I have it highlighted. So let's just go ahead and see. Let's see. And this cover is annoying. So here's the money blueprint. Here it is. The root creates the fruits. So I guess I'll read this section real quick. Imagine a tree. Let's suppose the tree represents the tree of life. On this tree, there are fruits. In life, our fruits are called our results. So we look at the fruits, our results, and we don't like them. There aren't enough of them. They're too small or they don't taste good. So what do we do? Or what do we tend to do? Most of us put even more attention and focus on the fruits, our results. But what it is that actually creates those particular fruits is the seeds and the roots that create those fruits. It's what's under the ground that creates what's above the ground. It's what's invisible that creates what's visible. So what does that mean? It means that if you want to change the fruits, you will first have to change the roots. If you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. So I hope that makes it understand. So there's this, he's got this way of putting it, the 4 quadrants, MESP. So let's see what that is exactly. Here it is. So money is a result, wealth is a result, health is a result, illness is a result, your weight is a result. We live in a world of cause and effect. So I hope that right there made a little bit of sense. So then, with all that being said, to change your financial future, you must identify and reprogram limiting money beliefs, right? I wouldn't say this is the most important step, but this is the step that actually leads to the growth, because you have to obviously change the beliefs in order to see the results that you want. So once you identify your common limiting beliefs about money, you have to go back and do the work you would have to do to reprogram your mind to think otherwise, right? That way you can reach that financial status. That way you can reach that success that you're looking for. That way you can reach the results that you're looking for. So once you find the root, you got to go back and start working your way up, right? Which won't take as long as you think. It's all about reassurance. I said in a recent podcast episode how the day-to-day decisions that we do reinforce certain thoughts we have about ourselves. So as you go through day to day, if you reinforce yourself the right way, the positive way, then you can easily change a limiting belief in a week or two, right? Just by habit. It's a big habit thing. And by the time you get to a 30-day mark, you have a completely changed way of moving, way of thinking. So that's part of the money blueprint. That is the beginning part of the book. Now, the second biggest takeaway from Secret to the Millionaire Mind is you must manage money to master it, right? People don't talk about managing money enough, in my opinion. I say this because the reason why I say this is because people often tell you and stress how much money you have to make. People are so quick to stress how much money you have to be making and saying you got to make more money, make more money, make more money. Well, the truth of the matter is, no matter how much money you make, if you don't know how to manage it, it's not going to do you much of any good. So managing it is really an important part. But people like to skip over that because it just feels like limiting, right? People have a limiting belief that like they want a sort of freedom, and feeling like you have to manage your money in a specific way feels like it's taking away from some of that freedom that you have. And it's a big ego thing, right? But that is why you have to attack those root issues and let it go and say, all right, look, it's not that the money is trying to control me, rather I'm gaining control over the money so that it can work for me, so my money can work for me in the future, do savings, do investments, do however you want to look at it. But it's important that you manage the money. So how can you manage your money? Here's one way, right? So in the book it states that rich people allocate their money into different categories, right? And everybody's categories are different. So I'll tell you what categories it says in the book, and then I'll tell you how I manage my money, right? How does this book state that the rich allocate their money? Let's see. In a system, using a system he calls the JARS money management system. So FFA, Financial Freedom Account, this is your investment jar. Money in this account is never spent, only invested to generate passive income, right? So it's your golden goose. So this money, this is basically investment money. So this money is used to make you more money passively, basically, without having to spend a certain amount of time doing it. Right. So for an example, right? Let's see an example of using this as an investment. So let's say if you're trying to think about a certain career where this would make a lot of sense. So a passive income, like let's say you make music, right? When you put a song out there, that is a passive income, because once the song is out there, all it is collecting views, and once you get a certain amount of monthly listeners, then you make a certain amount of money. So once the song goes out there and people replay it, you make more money. So a way of investing in that as a passive income would be through advertising your music for it to reach more people. So you're putting money in hopes of reaching more people so that you can get more listeners, which will result in more money. So that would be a way of passive income in that sense. 10% to education, used for self-growth and learning, books, courses, seminars, coaching, etc. Rich people constantly invest in their mindset and skills. Long-term savings for spending. Okay, I like this right here. So they got savings for spending, and I'm guessing they're gonna have. Let me see. We'll get there. We'll get there. For big purchases like a car, vacation, or home repairs, prevents going into debt for planned expenses. Necessities, 55%. So we got 10% financial freedom account, FFA. So this is investment. 10% education, 10% savings. So that's 30%. Then we got 55% necessities. Covers basic living expenses like rent, food, bills, transportation. If you can't live on 55%, if you can't live on 55%, Ecker says to get creative or get a roommate. So if you cannot live, what he's saying is if you cannot live off 55% of your income, chances are you're living above your means, right? Or you just have to change things up. So if you transfer, let's say you get a paycheck from a job. If you get a paycheck wired to your account, and if you take 55% of that for your needs, we're talking needs, we're talking bills, monthly expenses, groceries. If you transfer 55% over and you cannot manage with that, then chances are you're doing stuff wrong for sure. Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't even think I transfer 55% of my income into needs. And just for reference, I'm 19 years old. So boom, 55% necessities. Give 5 to 10%. Donate it to charity or given to others. Wealthy people believe in circulating money and contributing to the world. So 10% of that in my life would be like tithing, right? Me committing to tithing in my church, that would be 10% of my income. Play, 10% is play for fun, luxuries, and pampering yourself without guilt. Helps reinforce a sense of abundance and reward. Now, money you make, the lower money you make, right? the less, what you call it, the lower money you make, the less these numbers are going to be significant. Basically, your play money is not going to be as pretty as it would be. So you know what though? Let's do a little bit of math then. Let me get a piece of paper. Let me grab a piece of paper and let's do some math breakdowns on a paycheck. See, we're going in depth with these episodes. We got to. So let's see. Let's take. I recommend you do this per paycheck rather than do this based on monthly income, but it's different for everybody. If you get a bi-weekly paycheck, I recommend you do this split every paycheck, personally. If your bills only come once a month, then you could just apply the necessities. You could make that number higher on your necessities for that half of the month and then lower it for the other half, but that's up to you. So let's just use a simple number like 1,000. So let's say in one paycheck you make $1,000, right? So I'm gonna use my calculator. We're gonna do some good math. All right, I'm not playing games here. So we got $1,000. So we need 55% of 1,000. So what you do 1,000 times 55 divided by 100, right? And that gives you the amount. So out of $1,000, 550 of that is gonna go straight to necessities. So that basically 1,000 minus 550 leaves us with 450. So our necessities equals 550. So that leaves us with 450 out of 1,000, right? But we're still going to use the number 1,000 because the percentage is still going to be from the whole amount of the check. So next, what was next? So necessities first. Then we got the FFA, the investment account. That's going to be 10%, right? So already we're at 55%. So 10% is going to leave us 65. So 10% of 1,000, that's going to be 100. That should be correct. So that's going to drop us down to 350. So FFA is going to be 100. So we got 650. 650. So we got about 350 left. So boom, 10% FFA, 10% into education. So another $100 into education. Boom. So that leaves us with 250. Right? We got $100 into investment, $100 into education. This is off of a $1,000 paycheck. Long-term savings for big purchases, another 10%. So savings, 10%, another 100, 150. All right, so we got 30% plus 55%, 85%. We got 15% left. So out of 15%, we go 10% play, 5% give based on recommendations. So play money is going to be another $100. So now we're at $50. Or yeah, $50. So that 50 is going into giving based on their recommendations. Now you can definitely switch these up if you wanted to. So in a 2-week period, right? This is a 2-week period. I'm gonna put this online for y'all to look at. Probably post it on my TikTok or my Instagram for y'all to look at. Or if y'all want me to create an actual guide, let me know in the comments down below. I will definitely be willing to do that for you. So out of a 2-week paycheck of $1,000, right? He recommends that 550 go to necessities, right? Food, bills, anything like that. $100 goes into your investment account. 100 into your education, 100 into your long-term savings, $100 into play money, and $50 into giving. So the reason why this 550 is important is because obviously your bills and your groceries, those should take up the most of your money, right? Then you got your investment account. This is important for making money because you got to spend money to make money a lot of times if you want to scale to a certain amount of money. That's just how the game goes. $100 in an education. It's important to make sure you're investing at least time into learning. But if you could invest some money into learning, you're gonna get a lot further because when you pay to learn, a lot of times the information comes much more direct to you rather than just like learning on YouTube. You can definitely learn on YouTube, but there's certain things they won't teach you because it's just too valuable, and also it'll take a certain amount of time for them to teach you because they're trying to get AdSense, whatever. $100 in the savings. Savings is very important. So if you're in a lane or in a point in your life where you don't need to invest a lot of money in education, you could double up on your savings and just put 200 in the savings and take out the education, right? Play money. It's important to have play money regardless of what you think. It's important to give yourself some kind of money to spend on stuff that isn't necessary because you still want to be able to enjoy the money. You just got to put a limit to it. That's why it's only $100 on here, which is not a ton, but it'll give you something to do. You can buy an outfit with $100. Remember, this is a 2-week period. You can buy an outfit. You can go out to eat twice or something. That all just depends on you, basically. And then giving 50%, donating, very important. Just showing love. Um, if you make a certain amount of money that doesn't allow you to do that, it's still broken up into percentage, so you still will be able to do it either way, but that's up to you to decide. But this is the way that it's recommended and broken down in the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind book. So I know that was long, but it's important to understand. So how I break my money down is into 3 different sections, which is my section of my necessities, right? I only have three. I have four accounts, four accounts, right? I have one that is where my checking, that's my checking account, my main checking account. That's where my bills get taken out of and stuff like that. That's where my necessities would go. Then I got my investment account, which is the money that I spend to make more money or to keep growing in something. Then I have my savings account, which is for long-term savings. Not really for big purchases, but if I want to, I can. But just that's more money I try not to touch, right? Because the goal is to keep making more money. That way, I don't have to touch my savings money unless I really need to. So, savings, investing, and my necessities is my main stuff. And then I got my business account, but that's a whole nother thing. So that is why you must manage money to master it. So yeah, you said the jars system, split income by necessity, saving, education, play, and giving. Managing money sends a signal to your brain and the universe that you're ready for more. If you are given money and it is clear that you can't handle it, chances are you're not gonna get much more of it. That's just what it is. Because if money is overwhelming to you and money adds a certain aspect of stress to your life, you're subconsciously you're not gonna want to keep adding that stress into your life, which is gonna limit your brain to keep you at a certain income. It's a whole science behind it. That's why I really recommend y'all read the book because he really goes in depth and breaks it down very, very well. So that is all for the secrets of the millionaire mind. That is all for that. We're gonna go into book number 2. Let's see if I have it over here. Here it is. I see it. Book number 2, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. This is probably it's on the top 3. So yes, this is top 3 books I have read in my entire life. Hands down, 100%, no doubt. This is a phenomenal book. Shout out to Mel Robbins. If y'all don't know who Mel Robbins is, public speaker, award-winning podcaster, great influence. I love everything she talks about. But reading this book gave me such a good insight on discipline, self-respect, and things of that nature. Because this book talks a lot about initiative and instinct, right? She makes it very clear that our first thought, our instinctual thought, is the thought that usually is filled with the most reason, right? Based on your past, again, based on your subconscious. So, she breaks it down into a full science. So let's just go ahead and get into the breakdown. So see right here. Counting down from 5 to 1 and then acting immediately helps you override fear and self-doubt. Why? Why does counting down from 5 help you overcome self-doubt? So think about it like this. If your first thought is the one that's filled with reason and logic, right? And you count down from 5, what it does is it distracts your brain from allowing it to come up with a bunch of BS, doubt, and fear that would hold you back from acting, basically. So, with that being said, if you have an idea and you say I should do this, that's your first thought. Soon as you feel that you might start doubting, you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move. Because as you're counting down, right? And you want to do this out loud if you can. It doesn't have to be super loud where everybody can hear it, but just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you move and you act. Because as you're saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it doesn't allow your brain to come up with different things that would hold you back from doing it, different fears and doubts, right? And when you count, and there is a reason, there's a logic to counting down versus counting up. You wouldn't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because when you count up, you can keep going. When you count backwards from 5, it's like a sense of urgency, when it comes to acting. So you want to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move. This is supposed to negate doubt because, like I said, your first thought is usually the one filled with the most logic. So if you act on that and don't let the self-doubt kind of clamp you, your chances are you're going to get a lot better results. So that was a beautiful concept. And I've definitely used this in my life, and it has helped me overcome a lot of fear and make better decisions. Now, I'm not perfect with it. I'm trying to get better and make it more of a habit because sometimes I forget. But the more you do it, the better you get. And don't feel like ego, like I shouldn't have to count down to be able to act or move. That's just an ego that's meant to keep you stuck. So don't let that fool you. So see the next point. The brain has a short window, about 5 seconds, before it kills an instinct to act. So she's saying that you have about 5 seconds before your brain starts punching you in the head, saying, "Don't do this." You got about 5 seconds before it gathers itself and says, "Hold on, I don't really want to do that." So if you wait more than 5 seconds to do something, chances are you're going to come up with at least 50,000 reasons why you shouldn't do it. Even though that thing that you are going to end up not doing is probably the thing that you need to be doing. If you're in a meeting and you have an idea that you want to present and you know it could potentially be a great idea, but you're in fear of saying it, the moment you get the idea, you have about 5 seconds to get that idea out, or chances are you're going to come up with 50,000 reasons on why you shouldn't say anything, why you should just stay quiet. You're going to probably tell yourself that your idea probably is a terrible idea. And the next thing you know, the next person is going to say your idea. The boss is going to say, "That is a fantastic idea." Invite her to the head of operations. And now she just has your job position because all she did was communicate. It's not a good feeling. It really isn't. It really isn't. I think this is picking up my computer mic and not this mic, so I'm gonna have to fix that. But we'll see, bro. So yeah, 5 seconds before your brain starts punching you. Counting down backwards interrupts negative thought patterns and activates the prefrontal cortex, the action center of the brain. So that's why you count down backwards, right? So it's important that you count down backwards and not forward. There is an actual science behind it that she goes more in depth in the book. I recommend you pick that book up. Great book. Using the rule creates a bias towards action before excuses or fear set in. So basically, what she's saying here is the more you do it, the more of a pattern it'll become, right? And you'll kind of create a bias towards action. You will prefer action. It'll become such a habit that you just know nothing else. So it just beats all the fear and the doubt, which is super, super, super important. So that about wraps up the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. Great book. So we got The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. Book number 3. See if I got this right here. Here it is. The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. Increase your sales faster and easier than you ever thought possible. I'm telling you, this is a gem right here. This is a gem right here. If you are in a business of sales, and not even sales, just understanding how to market and how to just teach you communication skills, just teaches you so much in so much different ways, but it's sold in the form of how to sell to people. So as you see, I got plenty of stuff highlighted. This book was very informative, just a fantastic book. So let's get into this one. What are the main takeaways from The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy? People buy emotionally and justify logically. What does this mean and why is this important, right? Buying are Buying is driven by feelings, not product features or specs. If you're trying to sell a product to somebody, right? If you're trying to sell, let's say you're trying to sell a face wash, you wouldn't want to sell the specs and features of the face wash, right? You wouldn't want to sell them on the way that the face wash is built, unless that is a key selling point, unless it's like nature friendly, whatever. But even then, that wouldn't be selling. You wouldn't want to be selling the actual product. So you wouldn't go up to somebody and say, "Hey, look, I got this face wash. It's super soft. It bubbles up nicely, and it's easy to use." Whatever the specs are on your face wash. I don't sell face wash. No, think about what face wash grants people, right? And you can even make it more. I think it talks about it more here about how you can make it personal by asking the right questions when you're trying to sell to somebody. And when you're trying to sell somebody, it can start off as a regular conversation and you can lead it to the way you want to just by using your communication skills and the knowledge you have about selling. So, if I'm trying to sell a face wash to a woman, I'm not going to sell her on the actual specs of the product, but rather sell her on a feeling that she would get as a result of having clear skin. What does clear skin bring? Clear skin brings confidence. Clear skin makes you feel a sense of beauty. Clear skin makes you be perceived differently by other people because you seem like a cleanly person, right? And it opens up opportunity. Let's say she's interested in modeling. Let's say she's interested in content creation. This is good for her image. Good skincare is good for your image. These are things I would sell her on. I would sell her on the confidence. I would sell her on the sense of beauty, and I would sell her on the opportunity for those type of things like modeling and stuff. So I would be selling her on an emotion sense, right? Feelings that she would get if she were to have my product, because people buy based on emotion, not logic. And that goes with absolutely anything. Anything you could think of. People don't wear Gucci because it has the best designer brand. People wear Gucci because of the status that it shows. It's that simple. Watches hold a sense of status. That's why Rolex is a super popular brand. You put a Rolex on your wrist, it makes you seem a lot more creditable and like somebody that business people want to talk to. So it is about emotion and selling on an emotional point rather than selling the actual product. You were selling a feeling, you were selling an emotion, you were selling a sense of living, a way of living that goes with anything. This could be the number one marketing tip ever, even in my niche as a self-improvement person. I'm not going to sell somebody on the idea of self-improvement, but I'm going to sell y'all on the feelings you get, the kind of reactions you get, the change in life course that can happen if you aspire to be a better version of yourself, because those are the things that excite people. Great salesmen ask deep, open-ended questions that uncover pain. What does that say? Pain points and goals. Deep, open-ended questions. The more, the better you get at asking questions that give you real answers, the better you're going to be as a salesperson. Because I can ask you a simple question, and if I leave it too open to a yes or no, it's gonna be hard for me to get information. But if the question I ask is engaging and requires a little more information to be put out, then it's going to be easier for me to gain information and plan my next question or my next topic based off what you said. If I said something that hit hard deep, and you talk about, let's just say I'm selling skincare, and you talk about being, for some reason you talk about being bullied in your past, then that will obviously tell me exactly where to lead to sell you on this face wash, right? It's all a business at the end of the day, but sell somebody on the feeling or an emotion. So the questions that you ask are very important when it comes to gaining information. Then I think this is lastly. Yes, lastly. Paint emotional pictures of how the product will improve the prospect's life. So that's basically what I stated before. Paint a picture of what your life would look like, what differences would you experience after having this product. I think that's very simple. I think it's a skill you got to build upon as you continue to do it, but I think it's pretty simple of a concept, truthfully. But I hope this video was very insightful. These are the 3 books that changed my life and gave me skills that helped me get through every single day and to plan forward and to capitalize on opportunity. So here it is, the final big 3. Um, this is not Drake Kendrick, but this is the big 3 right here. If you were to invest money in 3 books that I think would make you a successful individual in the long term, I think these 3 would be very huge. So, thank y'all for joining the Inside of Mind podcast. I'm so very grateful for the time that you have given me. I would appreciate if you hit that like button, share it with your friends to help us grow. If you believe that what I'm saying is valuable, then I would love for you to share it, like this video, and drop a comment down below letting me know your insights. And I appreciate y'all for coming through. You can listen to the podcast audio on Spotify at Insight of Mind. Link will be down below in the description. I appreciate all the love. I'm going to see y'all on the next one. Peace out.